Um, all right, can I tell you about this project that got me really excited over the last 2 weeks since we've last spoken?
Yeah.
This was a release from Jack Butcher, who I'm a fan of. I've been following his work since before the NFTs that he's put out with the checks and the Opepins and things like that. So let me share my screen again. And he and his team, they released something called the Infinity. Um, yeah, it's called Infinity. And this is a really interesting project. It's different than other things we've seen in the space. And this was a mint that there's no limit. So anyone can mint as many as you want. There's an infinite amount that can be minted. And then each one that's made, there can be an infinite copy of it. So if you think about an open edition, it's unlimited in terms of how many can be minted and then unlimited versions of each one of those. So it's not intended to create market demand or compression or anything like that. It's just meant to have this art generated using this color palette and these symbols. But there's a lot happening behind the scenes here, which I thought was really interesting. So, one, the infinity symbol, if you look at something like this one, the infinity symbol looks like an eight, right? It's an eight, or on
Yeah.
its side it's an eight. So this theme of eight is reoccurring throughout this project at very deep levels. So first of all, it was released on August 8th, right? So 8/8. Um, and the cost of it was 0.008. Now the cool thing is when you mint one of these, you're paying this 0.008, which I think was like $14 at the time that I did it. And you have the option to basically burn your token, your
Uh-huh.
NFT, and get the 0.008 back at any time in the future. So all of the money, all the transaction from this went into a wallet and is meant to just sit there because anyone could then redeem that, take that 0.008 back at a future date forever. That's the goal here. And so they're saying this is not to make money because it's not. That money belongs to you still. It's
You.
there for you
Yeah.
to take it back. And so people thought even that mechanic was interesting because you might buy it now and now you have this 0.008, but if ETH skyrockets in the future, I could just go get this thing back, and now I've turned my $14 purchase into, I don't know, $100, whatever it is, right? So you can redeem it at any time in the future.
So is it like staking it basically?
It's no, it's not. It's mine. I can just go back to the contract and give it back. I can degenerate it, right? So I generated this art. I can degenerate it and give it back, essentially burn my token that I purchased and
Get your ETH back.
get the ETH back.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the wallet itself is just a holding wallet where all those funds went. Now, spoiler alert, the wallet got hacked because there was a flaw, there was a bug in the
There
code,
we go.
which Jaleel documents quite well on Twitter. So we're looking at a post here. He says, "Dear all, a bug was found in the Infinity contract I built, and it was abused to drain all the funds." So I know that doesn't sound good, but almost disregard that because they put the money back. They fixed the code, and now they're talking about reintroducing this the website where you can mint it. But I just want to talk a little bit more about some of the other cool stuff that I learned while researching about Infinity. That really I just thought was just like a beautiful combination of art and code and all that. So there was a Twitter post by this guy here, Marka.eth, and he goes into detail about the contract here. So some of the cool things to note is the contract itself starts with a 008. So the first you'll notice about the contract is the address. Notice what it begins with, 008. Nothing is by chance with visualized value, which is the Twitter handle for Jack Butcher. 8, the infinity symbol rotated will be a recurring theme. So contract addresses can be deterministically created using Create2. So right off the bat, it was released on August 8th. It cost 0.008, and the address of the contract starts with 008, right? So
Uh-huh.
pretty cool. Um, what we then learn, if you kind of go through this thread, which we'll post a link, but some of the interesting points that stood out to me. Let me get down to those other posts. So um, the coloring is interesting here. The color of all of these NFTs. So let me pull up another one. All of the colors here, even though they're randomly generated, they use the color coding scheme called HSL, which is hue, saturation, and lightness, right? So you may know what like a hex code is, which is like
Yeah.
6-character code for a color, but colors also have an HSL value, hue, saturation, light. One of the cool things is that this was programmed that even though there's random colors, the hue is always going to be fixed at 88, more infinity symbols, right? So the hue will always give this brightness, which is why all these colors, even though they're different colors, they all have this similar brightness to them
Yeah.
that goes sort of towards like the neonness of a color because they're all fixed at 88, which is the hue level. So I thought that was really, really cool to kind of build that in. Now, the other really interesting thing about this art here that plays off of the infinity symbol, or the 8 that we see, is that if you look at just the abbreviated, like the half of this, if you cut this in half, you would see just like the left side of this. Now that symbol is an SVG path, so um, it's a type of coding visualization to create a shape, and that shape calls back to the infinity checks and the OPEPIN, which are other parts of this project. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So these are all the shapes that we see here, right?
Yeah.
So this shape right here, if you can see this one, this looks like
Hmm.
a teardrop almost. That's
Right.
half of the infinity symbol, right? Because if you put another one on the other side, you get the infinity symbol. Now that shape on its own is just this teardrop. That one shape is being replicated over and over again as the random generation. Now, when you combine the infinity symbol into 2 infinity symbols, you get like this clover here, right? Now, if you get another clover and you set it on top of itself, you get this shape. Now, this shape is the infinity checks, sorry, is the check symbol that was Jack's, like, big project. One of his first big projects was the checks.
Yeah.
That's the same shape. So all these projects tie back into each other. Also, when you look at OPEPIN, OPEPIN has a very distinguished shape, right? If we pull up the OPEPIN NFT, we'll see 2 shapes for the eyes, right? You see this left eye and the right eye. The left eye is that shape again. It's like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
half of the infinity symbol. And
Ah,
so
interesting.
when you go back and you look at this, every one of these shapes that we see here, whether it's this one, it's just the same shape duplicated and flipped the other way. So here it kind of joins at the top right, and here it
Yeah.
joins at the top left. So it's duplicated. So every shape that you see here, every shape in the infinity checks, in the infinity project here, is all just this shape used in multiple ways. But it's the OPEPIN eye, and it's also the checks. So it really does this cool job of combining his prior projects with this new one, and just keeps that idea going of this like continuity and this connection between all of them. So
Hmm.
I was just like so impressed in the way that the code makes this happen, but it also visually um, it works out, right? So I was just like so amazed. This is mine. This is the one that I got here. No, that's not it. Let me go back to mine. Hold on. I did too, but this one I thought was really cool because this is like a bigger graph. Some of them generated smaller grids, like a 4x4. But again, I just love the color of it. I love the shapes. I love the just the way it all ties together. So I was like totally geeking out over these long, long threads over the week that this came out.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the things that he does, and a lot of the other projects are not easy for me to get into because the OPEP, anything else from the OPEPIN set, you need to be a holder of a prior set, or
Yeah.
it's just very expensive to get into. So for $14, I thought let me own a piece of the visualized value set here.
So these are generated when you mint them, or no?
Yes, when you mint it, it gets randomly generated. They took the site down once that bug was discovered, but now they're talking about putting the site back up so that people can continue to mint an infinite amount. The other thing is there are ways that you can manipulate yours after you mint it to continue to change the shapes that are on there and the colors that you can. I think there's a way to customize it. The site was taken down by the time I started to really dive into that, but if you look online at other people posting theirs, you'll see that they kind of customize it to be all one color or like this shade of colors that goes from left to right or top to bottom.
Hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. I was just nerding out over this over the last week, and I wanted to share with you.
No, I mean it's definitely interesting. Jack Butcher's been around for a long time, so he does a lot of cool stuff that has a lot deeper meaning. So
Yeah,
we'll see what he comes up next. But it seems like this is pretty cool.
yeah.